Welcome, everyone, to this training, Become the Leader They Never Forget. This is one of those conversations I've been wanting to have with you all for some time because I think for a lot of folks, there's a bit of a mystery about what makes somebody unforgettable as a leader. But really, it comes down to this. It's helping people achieve more than they thought possible and become more than they believe they could be. That's pretty simple. How we get there is a little more involved, which is why we're here today. So before we really dig into this, I want you to just picture this. Picture you walk into, let's see, we're just starting Q3. So let's say you're walking into your Q4 review with your boss. And after you sit down, they say, "How did you do it?" And you say, "What? Do what? What are you talking about?" And they say, "Well, your team is number one. Productivity is through the roof. I have people in other divisions asking for transfers to work on your team. And you just seem calm, cool, and collected. And then when I ask for updates, you've got them, but you're not so stuck in the weeds. You're actually getting more involved in strategy. And in fact, your name keeps coming up when we're in meetings talking about who are the front runners in our company. So what's your secret?" You could also imagine this. Imagine that you've got a fresh problem with one of your key clients. And one of the team members who's on the account comes into your office to talk with you about it. Nothing new there. You've got that open door policy. And 15 minutes later, they pause the conversation and say, "I've got it. I know exactly what to do. Thanks for your help." And then they head out. You feel calm and confident, and so do they. But here's the thing that's different. You didn't actually solve the problem. That's what normally makes you feel calm and confident. I gave them the keys of the kingdom, and now they're going to run with it. But this time you feel that way without having actually solved the problem. They actually solved the problem, not in their head, right in front of you. And that's what has them feeling confident, but you feel confident too, because you got to hear them think out loud. So you're not just blindly trusting them to solve the problem. They didn't have to push the "I believe" button on your solution, and you don't have to push the "I believe" button on their smile when they leave. So that's just what leadership conversations are like for you now. They solve problems, they run with it, they come back to debrief it with you, and then they're ready for the next one. And because of this, you get to focus more on that bigger picture business strategy. You get to work on team development, having those kinds of one-on-one conversations that get pushed off because you're just fighting fires every day. You have time for stakeholder management, right? Building those relationships with peers, with folks outside of your organization, all the stuff you didn't have time for when you were the one solving all those problems. Now, I mentioned those two scenarios because that's what happens when you are this unforgettable boss, when you become that kind of a leader. When I went out on LinkedIn and I put out a poll, those polls are kind of fun. I rarely do them, but this was the poll I asked. I said, when you think about the best boss you've ever had, what stands out most? And the highest rated one was, they trusted me. They believed in me as one piece, right? Where they could say, your boss could say, could talk about your potential and could convey their belief. It's another to actually trust you to go out and do the hard thing, to solve the problem, to have the conversation with that client that's about to leave, to work through something that's super complex that they used to have their fingers in the pie all the time. They actually trust you to do it. So what's the lesson from that poll? Well, there are maybe lots of lessons, but one of the ones is that leaders are encountering at least one barrier to trusting their team. And the way we know that is that if it were more common for leaders to trust their team members, it wouldn't stand out so much when they actually do. It would just be Of course, this is what leaders do all the time, but it is a challenge. It is a challenge. Anyone here feel like it's a challenge sometimes? I want you to actually just take a moment to consider your own situation. Just consider, what's your own barrier? What's stopping you from trusting every single member of your team to solve complex problems? I know I'm going out on a limb there when I say everyone, because we've all got that one person on our team that feels like a lost cause. We've also got the person on our team that's the go-to, that of course we can trust them. But I want you really thinking about, what's stopping you from trusting every single member of your team. Can you take a moment to just drop your thoughts into chat? I'd love to hear from you. What kinds of things are coming up for you? Ah, good, Vinny. Yes, previous burns. Yep. Somebody letting you down, right? Abuse of trust. Thanks, Giselle. Yeah. Yeah, you thought you could trust them. Maybe you trusted them on an earlier thing and it went okay, and then it went off the rails. Any other reasons, barriers that keep you from trusting every member of your team? Okay, well, as you think about them, experience level. Absolutely. Folks that are a lower experience, you can only trust with so much. Being defensive when giving feedback. Yep. Yeah. So even when you have one of those teaching moments and they push back, that makes it hard to keep going. Lack of training and knowledge. Absolutely, Brooks. Yep. And that's like Jim is saying, not familiar with the skill set. Some people are cutting corners, not rising to the leadership level. Yeah. Lack of ownership. Yep. This is so good. You guys, what we talk about today is going to absolutely address every single one of these barriers today. This is one of my passions. The thing is, trust isn't blind. It's built. And on the one hand, we know that we build trust with people. But when it comes to trusting our teams as leaders, we often get into this mindset that it's like, okay, at some point I just have to like push that I believe button and just let them go, just hope for the best. And that can be career suicide. It could be the end of a client relationship, right? Things can go really south with that I believe button. So what I want to teach you is that there's really more of a system to it. Because I think to many of us, the presence or absence of trust feels mysterious. It sometimes is emotional. It's like just this feeling that we have. Often, though, to some of the comments, there's this point, it's grounded in a missed expectation or several missed expectations. But it doesn't have to stay a mystery. And it doesn't have to be one of these situations where it's either there or it isn't, and there's not much you can do about it. I want you to see today that there is something you can do about it. It is something you can build consciously by both people involved. So I hope this is why you're here today. It's to really learn how to become that leader who makes your team capable of solving complex problems without you having to stay in the details. It'll make your boss wonder what your secret is. It'll make you unforgettable because you helped your team actually build confidence in themselves. And they build so much confidence in themselves while you're also building confidence in them. So this trust becomes, you learn how to trust them and do it confidently. And then they learn how to trust themselves. And that's where we really want to get the team. So today I'm going to teach you a practical framework that helps you stop managing work and leading people. So these are the 4 things we'll go through. One is we're going to talk about how to delegate in a way that builds confidence, ownership, and real accountability. We'll talk about how to stop being the bottleneck without losing clarity or control. How to turn just tell me what to do energy into ownership and problem solving. I hear that so much from the leaders I work with. It's like, okay, so I'm trying this new leadership approach, but what do I do when they just say, just tell me what to do? We'll get into that. And then I'll show you the roadmap for leaders and how they successfully transition from being that bottleneck, the one who has to make all the decisions and hold all those details, to really being the enabler. At the end, I'm going to invite you to the 6-month program called Leader of Arete, and there's a special bonus in it. So if you hang on till the end, we'll talk through that, because everything we talk about today, there is a way to absolutely support your further development for you. So I'm curious. Let's ask the question: if you could actually trust your team more, what would be true for you? What would this enable you to do? I've got 4 ideas up here. I'm curious which one of these resonate with you. Is it about more strategic leadership, being able to step back and focus on higher level work? Would it let you just get out of the details and stop being so involved, so kind of frees up your task list? Is it about developing a more capable and confident team? For some people, it's just this like emotional draw, like, oh my God, I'm so sick of my team constantly asking me what to do. Or is it about you would just be able to trust your team and delegate and empower people? Which of these things really stands out to you? I've seen, yeah, the resonance with the talking about the I believe button. Yeah, that does not work. This is good. Okay, so empower others, develop your team. Nice. The capable and confident team. Grow within and together as a team. I love that, Giselle. Yep, beautiful. Now, so if you could do those things, then what would open up for you? So this last slide was about how your leadership would change. This question is about so that what? What is the vision that you would realize? What's the thing that feels out of reach now because you are stuck so much in the details? Because you're feeling like you have to control the outcomes? Grow professionally? Yep. So there's room to actually grow your own skill set. Wow, imagine that, right? Leaders are just so busy keeping work moving, putting out fires, answering questions, trying to get people ready for the next thing. How about yourself? Collaboration of greater ideas. Nice, Giselle. Yes, I think you actually get people solving problems in more complete and collaborative ways. Maybe you get some more innovation. What else comes to mind? Oh, higher engagement and improved well-being and motivation. Yes, Zaijun. Yeah, that's just like higher energy level, right? I don't dread coming to work anymore. Imagine what's possible then. You can end your day not feeling completely drained. Anyone here right now get home from work and it's just like, nobody talk to me for half an hour. am exhausted. I'm angry. I need to just move past my day, right? That would be amazing. Maybe you get at least a half an hour or more back. For some of us, it would be much more. But if you're here today, you're here for a reason. This is where I really want to hear from you about what is this about for you? If you could trust your team more, what would be possible? If you agree with some of the comments, maybe give them a thumbs up in the chat. Let us know if there's something that resonates with you. Nice, thank you. More time, less stress. Thanks, Amanda. Yeah. More time. What would you do with more time? Greater team achievements, more exciting, meaningful work. Yeah, taking on new challenges, seeing your team truly rise to the top, right? You have that conversation, that Q4 review conversation of the, what's your secret? I love this. Golf, camping, fabulous. Less nagging. Yes, less nagging. The follow-up becomes so much easier. New areas of business. Absolutely. You can focus not just on your own business line. Maybe you're actually collaborating with, maybe you're actually collaborating with folks outside of your regular working group. Yeah, better collaboration and more wins when we work together instead of the need to prove. Better work-life alignment. This is great, Candace. Thank you. Okay. So now I want you to think about those barriers to trust that we were talking about earlier. And your own barrier to trust, whether it was the new hires that are not fully trained, or it's, I've been burned. Think about that. What is that for you? And how would you define the problem? Self-trust. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Yes. So honest. Thank you, Candace, because I think so many leaders are not willing to confront that is real. That is a real thing. You're getting multiple thumbs up here. Personal control issues. Yes, again, another so important. So many people face this because when you've climbed the ladder, you've gotten so far in your professional life, it's because you've been able to control the outcome. And then you get to this level of scale where that level of control is no longer sustainable for you or for anyone else. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I want to just kind of challenge some of these problem definitions for a second, okay? So first of all, you might think you have a team problem. The reason I can't let go is the team will drop the ball, whether that's because you've been burned in the past or you've got folks who aren't experienced enough. You might think you have a team problem, or you might think you have a trust problem. They haven't proven they can handle it yet, or they've proven that when I trust them or when I give them the reins, they screw it up. You might think you have a control problem. This was to Giselle's comment. The reason I can't step back is things fall apart when I do. Who's going to stay on top of all the details if I'm not here to do it? You might think you have a workload problem. There's just too much that needs my attention. So actually having the bandwidth to trust, actually maybe follow a process to do this, it feels like I just can't even do that. You might have an identity problem. You just feel like your role as the leader is because you are responsible for results, you have to stay in the details. When your boss asks you for the update, you have to have the numbers right off the top of your head. Now, I have coached people where that's the cultural expectation. That's also crazy making. So I do not endorse that whatsoever. And we can find a way around that, or we can find a way to work with that. But anyway, you might have this identity problem. You might feel like you have a time problem. Like it's just faster and easier to do it myself sometimes, right? I know how to do it. It's going to take 5 minutes. By the way, that 5 minutes actually takes 20 minutes. And then it takes you another 20 minutes to refocus on the work that you actually have to do. So that, oh, it just takes 5 minutes, actually ends up taking 45 minutes. But, you know, and then this is that last one. This is that one that Candace brought up, the self-belief problem. The reason I can't get out of the weeds is I'm not cut out for this. I'm stuck. I'm in my own way. And some people are aware of it and they don't know how to get past it. And others just linger there. So I'm so glad that it was brought to the surface so quickly. So if those are your problems, then these might be the solutions. I just want to break this down because so much of how we think about this problem makes it impossible to solve it. Because we think that the way to solve it are things like just get more training. Oh, better communication. That's a favorite. More structure or consequence for performance reviews. I just need to hire more or better, smarter, stronger people. I need to hire more people like me, probably. I need to clone myself. Anyone ever said that? I've literally said that before. Team retreats, motivation, just, get everybody together. Do lunch, do a ropes course, do trust falls, whatever. Improving your time management. It's like, maybe I just need a new planner. If I could just get more efficient in my work. Or the last one of, I just need to delegate more. That's it. I just need to get stuff off my plate. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that, but there's no plan. And there's no awareness of what is blocking the ability to delegate more. So here's a reason why that stuff does not work. Because training does not drive ownership. Just because you learned a skill doesn't mean you actually own the problem solving side of it. Just because you delegate something doesn't mean somebody is going to be accountable. And just because you are communicating better doesn't mean there is enough clarity for ownership and accountability to work on the right stuff. So you send them to training and nothing changes. Anyone do that? Like, I thought this was going to change something for you. You delegate and then, nope, I got to bring it back. Or you delegate it, but then you're the one staying up late fixing all the errors. You explain and you're still getting not ideal results. And you can explain and explain and explain. And we're just not getting there. Yeah, and Michael raised a point. So I need to delegate more, yet we don't trust them. The two go hand in hand. Absolutely. So this is a thing that's important to realize. You never had the team time or workload problem. You have an ownership problem. Now, that's not to say that your newest hires or people with low experience can solve every problem. But one of the reasons you can't trust them is around ownership. And I tell people, when you start learning a new approach to leadership, you can start using it with even your newest hires. And the earlier you use it, the better. Because the more you give them the answer, the more they become dependent on you for the answer. But when you can use a system that actually helps to build trust, confidence, capability, they very quickly start to get on board. So your team isn't necessarily failing to step up. That's what I hear again from leaders. It's that they haven't been given anything that they can confidently own. They stay stuck in that. I call it like the answer jukebox, right? The team member comes up, knocks on your door. It's basically like dropping a quarter in the slot of the jukebox and pushing a button to hear the song they want to hear. It's like I knock on the door to get the answer that I want so that I can keep going with my work. Except you end up being this answer jukebox. I don't know. A lot of the people on the call maybe have never even seen a jukebox, but you know what I'm saying? It's like you put the money in and you get the answer that you want. Um, that is not sustainable for you or for them. And it does not make you the unforgettable leader that you want to be. And being an unforgettable leader is not, I don't expect that you are here and you want to be unforgettable because it's some big ego boost for you. It's something that you know when you have enabled people to not only achieve amazing results, but also feel their own self confidence along the way. It's a magical. So, yeah, Brooke says you have to give them the opportunity to make mistakes and learn. Yes, you have to have a certain amount of failure built into the system. That's part of it. And yes, and not hold it against them forever. Yep, psychological safety. These are all building on it. Absolutely. Absolutely. These all work together. Yeah, because we're all human. So we can't expect perfection of them and also stop expecting perfection of ourselves. Be okay with some amount of failure and discomfort on your own. So, what's been hard about seeing this is that everything we've been taught to do as a leader keeps us at the center of the results. So, we can delegate tasks, but we can't actually let go. There's this invisible thread that they tug on. And that's what I'm showing here on the left is it's like people are constantly coming to you. There's this constant back and forth of what do I do? Do this. What do I do? Do this. How would you do this? Do this. What am I missing? Do this. Versus on the right, we've got a completely different picture where your people are working together to solve problems and you're orbiting. You get to orbit. You're on the outside. You're still connected, right? You haven't launched off into space. You're in orbit. You're there. You see what's happening. You're accessible, but they're the ones solving the problem. So you don't have a delegation problem. It's that the system you've been using doesn't create ownership. So you stay the bottleneck. If you delegate without giving them ownership over the decision, there's still dependency. You stay the decision hub and teams wait instead of leading. So I encourage you today to stop looking at it as your team failing you and look at it as your system training them to rely on you. And trust me, no judgment from me. I operated under that system for a long time as well. So this is what it looks like. I know this all too well. Constant interruptions. And actually, we're kind of grateful for the interruptions because if we let them get off track, that would be bad, right? We don't want that. We are constantly rechecking their work, and we need that too because that's how we spot those errors. We have that mental overload because we're constantly trying to just make sure all the details, all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. We're the only ones who get the full complexity. We're overseeing interactions and meetings, right? So we're sitting in on their meetings, we're sitting in on our meetings, which we should be at. But you know what? Maybe some of those we can start letting go. We can actually get some other people sitting in those meetings that we've been taking over. And those people who get you on that meeting invite as kind of like a security blanket, we can let that go too. But again, as a decision hub, we're constantly worrying about what has fallen off of whose plate. There are just so many different things to keep track of. I want to introduce this phrase to you if you've never heard this, and that is the phrase, up until now. Up until now, that's been your reality. All the barriers that we talked about early on, those are all up until now. And when you can use that phrase, up until now, it opens up a new possibility for tomorrow. Don't let what's happened in the past dictate what's possible in the future. Up until now, you've been the decision hub. Up until now, your system has trained them to rely on you. Up until now, you've felt a need to control. Up until now, you haven't been able to trust your team. Up until now. July 14th, 2026. Now something new is opening up. Because when you truly trust your team makes decisions without your input, yet fully aligned with your intent. It's a special kind of magic. I know. I feel like when I say that, it sounds a little like, really? How does this happen? Especially if you're accustomed to control. You generate those outcomes without micromanaging because they hold themselves to high standards. You get to be the strategic leader. Again, you're looking up and out, maybe also across, right? You're building those new lines of business. You're collaborating with your peers. You are actually starting to see things coming and starting to build the capacity within your team to meet those new challenges in the future. And your team is growing in capability and confidence. Morale is high. That energy piece, right? You seek the next promotion because you don't worry who's going to replace you. And you also don't believe that the next level up is just more crushing workload. I've also coached leaders who are like, why would I want my boss's job? They work even more than I do. They're sending emails even later at night and earlier in the morning. They have no life. And also, it's been fun to coach them to realize that person's reality doesn't have to be yours. And when you learn the skill set where you learn that you can trust your team, you will see that the next level doesn't mean less of a life. These micro moments also start to happen. You don't dread Slack or Teams notifications like, oh God, another do I dare even check? You're not redoing your team's work at night. And you can actually stop thinking about work after hours. So you can not just play golf, but enjoy golfing. You can not just go camping, you can be present in nature. Because how many of you go on vacation and how many of you don't vacate, you relocate? You maybe go to a new spot, but you're still working. You're still working. I want you to be able to go to that place, even if that place is your deck or your porch or a walk in the neighborhood, and you're off. You're truly off. You let yourself be off. You'll have an identity shift from that, I'll just do it myself, to a belief that your team can handle this and learn from it. They can run with this. And they might not get it perfect, but they're going to learn from it and they're going to grow. You're right, Candace. Turning off is a life skill. When are they going to teach us this, Candace? That's what I want to know. Why didn't we learn that life skill anywhere? I'm seeing some more great comments in chat. I've seen people being technical experts. This is a challenge. This is an interesting thing I see is when we have leaders who grew up as a technical expert. And then they get into bigger and bigger leadership roles. There's this part of them where the identity is still stuck in that technical role, in that technical expertise. And it's so important to realize that your role has effectively changed and your needed skill set has effectively changed. So if you're an engineer, it helps that you understand engineering, but you are now a leader and it is a very different skill set. So maybe you went through, you got a bachelor's degree, maybe you went even beyond it, you got a professional license. There's no professional license to be a leader, but there is a skill set. You don't have to go back to college for it. But again, it is a very different hat to wear. And how you support those technical folks underneath you shifts. I'll tell you a little bit about me. I think most of you know me, but several of you are new to me. So I'm glad you're here. A little about me. I'm a former naval aviator. I flew over 40 combat missions. By the age of 27, I was leading a unit of 50 sailors on deployment in the Persian Gulf. By the time I was 29, I was leading a team of 120. And that was a lot at a younger age. When I was at the Naval Academy on staff, I co-founded the first coaching program there, which was, gosh, that was 2003. So that was like coaching was just becoming a leadership approach. And these are some of my things in the past. Culture change architect. When I was stationed at the academy on staff, I was helping them make major changes in their culture, teaching leadership, ethics, running a big conference. So I share all this with you to share. I come from probably a different background than you do, but what we have in common is mission focus and teams accomplishing that mission. And one of the most important things I learned about flying missions in combat is the power of trust. Because if you think about it, I flew in Operation Iraqi Freedom, Southern Watch, Enduring Freedom. You've got hundreds of aircraft airborne over enemy territory with the enemy training their missiles and aircraft on them. And if you are the admiral or general who is in charge of running the show, you cannot be in the cockpit of every aircraft. You have to trust those team members to make good decisions in the moment as the environment is changing. And these are life and death decisions. So I know the value and the power of trust. And I have been honing the process for leaders of how to actually trust their teams. Thank you, Brooks. Yes, beat Army. Absolutely. Now, since then, I've been pushing the boundaries of old school leadership. I've been an entrepreneur and coach now for over 20 years. I'm a mom to 2 kiddos. I love mountain biking and hiking in the Pacific Northwest. I live on Whidbey Island in Washington State. I am kind of I'm bi-coastal though, as it were. I lived in Annapolis for so many years and I have so many clients and friends and that feel like family over there. I often bounce between the 2 coasts and kind of everywhere in between. I design leader development programs for both private and government organizations. And I'm a cross-functional team facilitator, which in the architect, engineering, and construction world is called partnering. So another situation where you've got the need for trust. And I see so many times in these teams where trust is so fragile, it's broken down. And now what do we do? I do have a podcast called Courageous Leadership Simplified, and that's good fun. And then my big, hairy, audacious goal is no more war. I've fought in wars. We would be better if we don't have to do that. And it starts at home. It starts with us individually, and it starts as leaders. So you might have you're hearing all of this conversation and there are probably some voices in your head that are saying, nope, my team just isn't strong enough. Anyone? I don't have the team for this. But if they haven't been given an ownership structure, you only know how to keep them safe and small, not to realize what they're actually capable of. You might say it's faster if I just do it. And that's short-term true, long-term trap. Because when you're at the center of the solution, you teach that you have the answer, not them. And you get stuck in that cycle of dependency. It's really hard getting out of that. And you might say, well, this won't work in my line of work or my role or my organization. And trust me, and actually, we've got at least one person from an organization I have done this work with that is in a unionized environment, and it works. So whether you're a frontline supervisor or senior leader, finance, engineering, government, small business, nonprofit, large company, it works everywhere. I've seen what I'm about to teach you today working everywhere. So what solves the ownership problem? It's the 3-step delegation reset. And here's the first step. Delegate the problem, not the task. This sounds simple, and you might even think that you're doing this, but so many times we're delegating a task. Go do this, write this email, develop this presentation, make this call, write this paper, do this research. Those are tasks. Those are not problems to solve. And this is the big shift, is getting you out of that chief problem solver role and trusting them to solve the problem. So before you probably defined the parameters of success for the task, now you have to take a little more of a step back to set the parameters for the problem. What does the right solution look like? And I talk about drawing the box where success lives. It's somewhere in here. If your limits of success, it's like right here, you've got to get it right here. It's this little point right here. And if you don't get it here, it's wrong. You're going to just get stuck in more of that dependency. So delegate the problem, not the task. Draw that box where the successful solution lives. Don't take the lazy way out of playing the rock game. Some of my former active duty folks have probably heard that term before. And that's where it's like, bring me a rock. And the person brings you a rock. No, not that rock, maybe a different rock. You've got to actually take the time to define what kind of a rock are you looking for so that they have a chance for succeeding. And so before, when you were delegating the task, you had to constantly think through what could go wrong. You were responding to those little pop-up problems. This is what keeps you in firefighting mode. And you're the one, like, just try to get people aligned. Okay, this person's on this, that person's on that, this person's on this. Okay, are these guys all lining up? Are they going to have their things done on time? Are they going to hand off, right? Oh, who has time for anything else if you're doing that? So after, when you're actually delegating the problem, your team members are thinking through what could go wrong, responding to problems and getting people aligned. That still has to happen, but you're not the one who has to do it. And the more they're trusted to do these kinds of things, the more they start even having to ask the question about alignment, getting people to actually cooperate in this process, the more they start to have appreciation for what the whole picture is. You start to broaden their landscape of what's going on. And I've seen this work. I've seen this work with leaders who went from that task kind of transactional delegation to more of the transformational delegation. And they've been able to get promotions. They've been able to completely offload meetings. Their teams run their meetings. They don't have to be in them anymore. There are other meetings that they're in, but again, they're not having to control and think through all this stuff on their own. The second step is, okay, so you've offloaded the problem, not just the task. Now you're asking questions instead of giving answers, because they are going to have questions, right? They're going to start getting down somewhere down the line and they're going to get stuck. How you respond when they get stuck is the key in step 2. So When we tell someone what to do and they succeed, here's why this is a trap. It's because a good amount of their success is ours, not theirs. So they don't feel the responsibility, but they also don't feel the confidence growth from it. Whereas if they decided what to do, they came up with the idea, and then they acted on it, and then they failed or succeeded, they own it and they can learn from it. If you're the one holding those answers, they only learn, be more like Vinny, be more like Giselle, right? They don't actually learn that they have that capacity within themselves. So before, you probably answered questions just to solve their problems and keep work moving, right? You just don't want to be that bottleneck. Like, okay, you got to, okay, put out that fire, answer that question, just trying to get people back to work, right? That's why we have that. One of the reasons we have the open door policy, come knock anytime, constantly available. By the way, when are you actually getting your work done with all those interruptions? So after, when you're asking questions instead of giving answers, your questions are helping them to solve the problem. And then they own the success or failure, and they have that growth in confidence. Believe it or not, having some controlled failure actually leads to confidence because they have the chance to bounce back. They have the chance to show themselves that they're actually resilient. And the third step, so again, we've delegated the problem, not the task. We're asking questions instead of giving answers. This third piece, the accountability conversation. We're actually flipping that on its head because so many times we feel like we're the ones, again, we have to stay on top of all of this. We have to check back in. Michael, where are you with this? Saijun, where are you with this? Right? How did that conversation go, Brooks? Right? We're having to stay on top of it. What if we could actually flip that? What if we could also make it more mutual? So you're still in it, but you don't have to run it. So this isn't one more detail that you have to stay on top of. And that may sound like magic, or you might think, well, maybe, so I guess we just have to get this in their task list then. And it's not just that. It's really about having a very different conversation where accountability is done for them and with them instead of to them. When I hear accountability come up, I actually had a client say this to me recently on one of the teams I'm working with. Well, we just have to hold them more accountable. And I'm like, okay, what does that actually mean? Because it kind of sounds like we're going to start playing cops and robbers now. And who wants to be on that team? It sounds like accountability done to somebody, not for them. So before, you had to check everything. Those last minute check-ins mean you're also probably doing last minute fixes. And that follow-up is another you task. It's another thing on your list. After, your team leads the follow-up. You have check-ins that are structured and predictable, and they own the process. So these, hopefully you're seeing, these are not random tactics. They all work together as parts of a system. So delegate the problem, ask questions instead of giving answers, and flip the accountability. If you don't do those three, delegation fails, trust breaks down, both between you and your team and within your team, and they stay dependent on you. So how you do these three things: delegate the problem, ask questions, flip the accountability. It's going to look different for everybody, depending on industry, team, management structure, but those 3 steps are consistent. It's just how you apply them. What I've learned in leaders actually truly become competent in practicing these 3 different skill sets is you need to, I think it was Michael's point about professional development. You actually have time for that. Actually taking your own development seriously and getting training on both the mindset and the skill set. There is definitely a skill set component, but the skill set without the mindset will not work. Mindset without the skill set is just theory. So you've got to have training that brings both of those together. You need hands-on guided practice because this is probably something that has never really been done for you, to you, with you before. So how would you know if you're doing it right? So actually getting practice guided by someone who knows what they're doing is helpful. Daily habit reminders are huge because when you've got that new skill set and mindset, that's the thing that pulls it together. Getting feedback from your team. How are your skills actually being practiced with your team? Are they seeing the change? How do they see you when you start something new? How do they see you as you are progressing through it? How do they see you farther down the line? Are you actually making changes in that? And then getting some one-on-one support to address unique challenges that do pop up. Again, it differs depending on industry, team, management structure, so many other factors. So when you can actually get that unique challenge addressed, that's important. You're not going to get that by picking up a book on coaching. It's actually tapping in, having the conversation, coming to the conversation with, okay, I haven't been doing this thing I know I should be doing because I've heard all the reasons. I've heard I don't have enough time. I'll just wait until this project is done. My team isn't ready for it. I don't think this person always says, just give me the answer, right? They resist it. I don't know how to work this in when I'm working so many late nights, right? There's so many different conversations that we need to have to help you address your unique challenges for what I just call implementation. So this is how I see leaders transform. All 5 of these components are really important. So just to sum this all up, you are in the right place. If you're ready to stop doing it all, holding everything together, and being the bottleneck. You want to stop being the hero, to take off your cape, right? Stop trying to save everyone, but also keep those high standards. If you are willing to be the change that transforms your team, to not wait until you hire better people, until you get a different boss, until somehow miraculously your workload decreases. By the way, that's not a good thing because then are people out of jobs. So you are willing to be that change. You realize your team isn't broken. It is something in your approach that can change. And also, I don't want you to have any judgment about that. How would you know? You probably haven't really been led this way before. That trust isn't something you wait for, it's something you build. And you can do it with a system. And also, when you shift ownership, it's a really amazing thing to see. And I think I've got some people on the call here who've been through some of my training and could talk about it. But you see that team capacity and confidence grow. You actually have time to do some of those higher level things, to look at what's next, and you get those amazing results. So yeah, you have that Q4 conversation with your boss. Imagine this, the end of December. Maybe it's you're looking at the new year, you're looking in January, and your boss is like, what has changed? How are you doing this? If you're ready for that, you're in the right place. So I have some questions for you. I'm curious, do you see how possible this is for you? That you don't actually have to push the I believe button? There's a system. There's a system. We've got 3 steps. I love this. These are some great comments, you guys. And And are you ready to go from I'll just do it myself to my team can handle this and learn from it? I don't have to stay in the weeds. I don't have to stay in the details. They can do it and learn and grow. And do you want a repeatable process that enables you to become that leader that your team never forgets? I'm guessing you're still here. So you do want those things. And so then the question is just, if not now, then when, right? You know, I don't want you to be stuck worrying whether you're just going to stay stagnant or if you do make change that you're going to burn out doing it. When you could actually be learning the process, the approach that builds clarity, confidence, and capacity in every member of your team, not just your high performers, not just your high pos, every single member of your team, even the ones who seem like they checked out. To actually manage a repeatable process instead of just setting up a meeting and hoping that your direction doesn't get lost in translation. This is actually a process and there's a framework to follow. You can increase your team's confidence and motivation through the work they do, not in spite of it. It's not like, oh, well, we feel confident and motivated after the fact. It's like we get to feel this every single day. Yeah, we could totally do this, Amanda. I love this. I'm seeing some good conversation here. Brooke says, I think the biggest challenge for leaders is remaining responsible and accountable to their manager for results without becoming a hindrance for their own teams. Flipping the accountability conversation is difficult at times. Yeah, because you are managing up and down. But when you have this system, you can truly experience the joy of being a leader and having a fulfilling life, not just working so that you have a place to rest your head at night, but actually enjoying the work that you do and being able to totally turn it off with confidence. So then the question is about, can you really develop a system for trusting your team? Obviously, yes. That's why we're here. There is a system. It's not magic and it's not a mystery. So I'm going to just talk you through this program called Leader of Arete that's been my privilege to run since 2021, though I've been actually teaching this same content for now over a decade. So it's a 6-month program that enables you to develop your team while you are driving those results. And we give you the skills, the mindset, and the tools. When I talk about tools, I'm talking frameworks, worksheets, scripts. There's like all these processes that we teach to help you do this. So all of these different components are part of what we call not just training, but transformation. The amazing thing is it starts with this 5-day live training. And here's what happens. After those 5 days, you get 6 months of support to make sure you are practicing it well, get you feedback as you're practicing it, continue those skill deep dives. You're doing some group implementation coaching calls. You get daily nudges every day, reminding you of something that we've talked about, something that keeps you focused on this transformation that you're making. And you get a feedback report. So you find out how you're doing as a baseline and how you're growing and how you are when we finally wrap up. And then we also have an online community. So there are all these components, but here's what's really cool is after the 5 days, and here's a breakdown of the 5 days. After the 5 days, the fact is you will be leading differently. I guarantee you. You will never lead the same. Give us a week. You get back to the office on Monday. Things change. I tell you, you get back home. And now this is all virtual, but you turn off your computer, you get back to your home life, and your conversations at home are different. I hear it all the time. Because once you stop being that chief problem solver, you stop trying to save your team and everyone around you, and you have a system that you can rely on for it to work. You can breathe. And again, you get back to work and you become aware of the habits and practices that you've had in the past that kept you stuck. The first days of our 5 days, the first days 1 and 2, we spend with the foundation. Why are you here? What do you want to get out of this? Really understanding the nuances, those differences, the distinctions between leadership in the past that was more control-based, that honestly, it has its place. It does have its place. And how that's different from what we're going to be teaching you. There's a big difference. It's funny, even after day 1, I have people walk away saying, I thought I was already doing this. I wasn't even close. Now I realize there's actually a completely different way of showing up. We spend time on listening skills in those first couple of days, and it's really the more strategic kind of listening that enables you to really understand what's going on with your folks. So as they're solving problems, you're not listening to solve the problem, you're listening to help them solve the problem. It sounds like semantics there, but it's a big shift. Days 3 and 4, we really dig into the framework for these conversations, how to ask questions, how to do it in such a way that is structured and repeatable, that keeps you out of problem solver mode, has you standing in a new version of leadership expertise that's not based in your technical skills. You can have performance conversations that are not these one-way conversations that you dread and they feel horrible walking out of. And then on day 5, our final day, we do more practice and we're figuring out how to transition this now into our team. So we've been building our skills. Day 5 is transition day. How does the rubber meet the road when we get back to our office? So when we get back to work on Monday, we're ready to hit the ground running. You also have hands-on guided practice. So you learn from the pros. I have this amazing team of coaches, facilitators, trainers who have been doing this work, many of them for more than 2 decades, all of them for at least a decade. They're incredibly talented. And so they are actually watching you practice and giving you feedback in the moment so you know whether you're doing it right or not. Okay? There is not going to be any question about it. You're going to not just do it and then say, well, I guess, I don't know, that felt weird. Next. It's like, okay, well, what felt weird about it? Let's dig in on that. Let's understand what worked and what didn't work and what could have been better. So it's all about having that team that can help guide you. And we work with that team in the 5 days. You have multiple feedback practice sessions with those coaches during the 5 days, and then you carry that forward. I'll talk with you about that in a moment. But then you have monthly skill intensives. Every month for 6 months, we deepen your skills so that you've learned a lot over those 5 days. The rubber meets the road on Monday. You get to work and you start hitting some barriers. And that's the time where we start deepening the skills, right? Because you get out there, you start practicing it, you start to realize, there's actually this other piece. How do we use it over here? Or how do I apply it to this person? Those kinds of things are what come up in these skill intensives. You get the feedback report, as I mentioned. So we've broken down all the different skills that you're learning. If anyone here has done a 360, anyone here done that before? Gotten 360 feedback, so you get it from boss, peers, directs, others. This one, we're focusing it on the people that you are leading. So they might be direct reports. There might be other folks involved. I don't want to say it's strictly a direct report relationship that you're practicing these skills with. But we're going to get feedback from them on the specific skills you're learning. So we'll get a baseline, we'll check in on the midpoint, and we'll also get a final check-in. And then beyond that, there's even more to make it stick. So every month we get together for what we call implementation coaching. This is with me, where you're working through real challenges with all your other cohort members. So it's group coaching, meaning Michael might be in the hot seat one moment and he's got one issue he's working with, and I coach him through that. He's got his insight, and then Brooks raises a hand and starts getting coaching. So we work through Brooke's problem, and then we move on. Then Amanda's in the hot seat. And so we work through Amanda's. And the cool thing is, even though Giselle isn't even in that lineup just yet, she might not be. She might stay quiet the whole time, but she's heard all those three and probably many more people work through their challenges on that call. And she's gotten so many insights just by hearing those other people's insights. She's connecting it to her own reality. So Giselle, sorry to use you as an example, but this is what I see time and time again, is just getting this kind of exposure to other people's challenges and how they work through is really insightful. The daily leadership nudges, this will be the one text you really look forward to every day getting from me. You'll get a text every day, at least every Monday through Friday, every weekday, that just keeps these habits and the mindset top of mind. So you go into every day with kind of a fresh, like, that's right, I am not going to control this conversation today. Or maybe it's just, I'm going to notice whether or not I lean towards control. That might be your challenge for the day. I'm going to notice, did I ask more questions or try to give more answers? I'm going to notice, what was I listening for? Was I listening for their reality and their challenges? Or was I listening so I could solve the problem? So that's what those nudges do, is they just kind of lock you back in to this new mindset and skill set you're working on. And then you have the small group practice session. So I talked about the learning from the pros, that amazing group of coaches. You're going to stay connected with that group every month. You're going to have a practice session guided by your professional coach to help you actually work through the skills. And as they grow over the 6 months, you'll just see it get deeper and deeper. It's really amazing. And so all of these things, the cool thing is, even if you can't be present for the implementation coaching, you can't be present for the skill intensives, you can get in on those recordings and you'll get the same hit as if you were there. The small group sessions, you'll coordinate those as a small group. So don't worry about those not fitting into your schedule right now. You will work it out. And people always do. I just wanted to share some fun quotes from folks who have gone through our program before, because it's so fun. Dawn, who now has been promoted at least one level up. She's in senior leadership on her team now. And she says, it sounds great to think about trusting your team to solve problems and learn from failures, but it's another to actually have a way to implement a tool to make that happen, to actually have a system. It's not just theory. It's not just a platitude. It's not just a quote that you share on LinkedIn. It's something you do. You know how to do it. You can go back. If you ever get off track, you pick up your notebook and you go, all right, let's just start with this question. There are tools. So that's from Dawn. From Chris, this is so funny. He said, I love the content and I refer to it often. I feel like it's just the beginning of a journey. And I'm fine with that because we're building a new culture. And as his team grows, more people want to have more coaching conversations. He's implementing the materials and bearing fruit. What more can you want? The cool thing with Chris is he went from being in an operations role where he had gathered quite a lot of expertise and strong reputation. And then he was thrown into the role of head of recruiting. He had never been in recruiting. He had only the closest he had gotten was he was a hiring manager at one point. That's it. That's it. That's the only connection he had with recruiting. And when he took over that role, he actually asked me about it. He said, do you think this is a good idea, Jen? What might I be missing? I said, well, you learn these skills of coaching. I think you're going to be okay if you lean on that. Don't try to lean on the technical expertise. You don't have it. He took the role and his team took off. They were thriving. his reputation continues to grow because he's ultimately so flexible. He can move between different roles where he doesn't have expertise, and yet his team still delivers exceptional results. And that's even with one of these teams was kind of struggling in the sense that they had gone through a number of different leaders. So he came in and he was able to bring leadership. He didn't bring the technical expertise, but he brought the leadership. He understood how the system was working. He understood what people needed to be successful, and he helped them get it. Amy, this is fun. Amy says, it's one thing to enjoy training. It's different to actually practice something, test it, and see results. It's a feedback loop that's reinforcing. I'm getting better, and I have the results to back that up. The fun thing with Amy is when she came to our program, she had already been a leader for over 20 years. So she's very senior in her organization. But she came in, she's always open to learning. She's like, okay, Jen, I'll go through the program. I love working with you. I'm sure it's going to be great. So she shows up, and the first day, she's pretty confident. Like, yeah, I kind of do this stuff. I'm good. And the more she learns, she's like, oh, I've been mentoring, not this other stuff you're talking about. And mentoring has its place, but it hasn't been really freeing up my team. It hasn't been building their confidence. Mentoring is lovely, but it still puts you as the expert. And so once she stepped out of that expert role, she became an expert leader instead of the expert mentor, the expert technical person. Her team totally changed. She was able to actually take another assignment. She took a stretch assignment into a completely different organization, and her team did fine. That would not have been the case a few years before. She came back. The train had stayed on the rails. Everything was good. She picked right back up, and she had even more time to get into other kinds of work. So talk about building other lines of business, or what the comment that was brought up earlier. Absolutely. So we talked about several different components of the Leader of Arete program, and I would love to have you join us if it's something that you'd like to get in on. It starts the end of October. It's the last full week of October. I'm looking at my calendar right now. It starts the 26th and runs through the 30th. In terms of times, it is noon to 5 Eastern, 9 to 2 Pacific each day for 5 days. That's the live training on Zoom. The earlier you sign up, the earlier you get in on group coaching sessions that I'm doing in advance. And those sessions are helping people really just get locked into what are we here to do? What's the vision? What's in the way? What do I need to start doing to create space for my own transformation? What do I need to do to create space for my transformation? So if you could sign up by the end of business tomorrow, you can actually get in on our very next session, which is July 16th. The one after that will be during the week of August 10th. So the sooner the better. So these are all the things that you get for this program. The 5-day workshop and 6 full months of ongoing support. Everything that we talked about for $54.97. This may be, this is actually the last time I will be running it publicly until at least 2028. So you won't see this again in 2027. I'm not just saying that as like it's not a tactic. It's just reality. There are lots of other things I need to focus on in 2027. And this is a program I love. And it also, it requires a lot to stay on top of. And so I'm taking 2027 off. But so this is the last year to get in on it. 2028 at the earliest will be the next run. So if you really want this transformation, it can happen. So some questions that come up for folks, will this really work with my team? Yes, I can confidently say it will work with your team. It will look different for everyone, but if you start out with an intent to stop being the bottleneck, to start being the one who can actually build that kind of confidence in their team members to run with problems and not just tasks, absolutely, this will work with your team. Are you going to actually learn something new? I hear this from folks all the time where it's like, well, I listen to leadership podcasts and I read leadership books. Yes, but have you gotten that kind of feedback on how you're practicing those skills? Have you actually gone out and tried the stuff that you read about in books? Have you done that stuff? Have you tried it long enough to actually see results? Because we're going to be working on this for 6 months. And does this really take 6 months? Yes. In fact, it actually takes more than 6 months. I will tell you, this is a learning journey. I feel like I'm still learning about these same practices, even though I've been doing it well over 20 years. The 6 months is that support, because if we let you leave with the 5 days, you are absolutely going to lead differently. But I want you to not just lead differently. I want you to lead confidently in this new way. I want you to feel confident in the skills that you've built up. I don't want them to just sit on a shelf. Will I coach you one-on-one? I've heard that question too. Yes, I do, in the group implementation coaching sessions. So you get into that hot seat. It's not a private session, it's in a group session, but I am coaching you. So you come, Alexis, come with your question. I'll coach you through it one-on-one, like we're the only people in the room. Then we'll bring in the next one. But yes, you will get some one-on-one time with me to work through it. And if you struggle to make it to those sessions, we also have our online community where you can ask your questions, and I'll do some coaching for you there as well. So if you can't make it to the monthly sessions, you can't make it to the skill intensives, if you can't make it to the implementation coaching, we do record all of them and we put them up on our own channel so that you can tune in and get them, basically like listen to them like a podcast. So what else can I answer for you? Thanks for hanging around as long as you have. I know we've had a lot of folks who've had to hop off to other meetings, but what questions can I answer for you? Go ahead and raise your hand, speak up, put it into chat if you'd like. Yes, Michael, it is a lot to take in. I hear you. Anything else? I'm here. Okay. If you'd like to book a one-on-one call with me to talk through more questions, you are welcome to. I will send you a follow-up email with a link to book a time so that we can chat. You can also go to the website. If you go to academyofrate.com/leader, you'll see on that page to book a call. So you'll be able to book just a one-on-one conversation with me and get those questions answered. But it's been a pleasure to have you here. You guys have had some really great feedback and comments throughout this whole session. So I'm so grateful for you spending this time with me, and I will look forward to talking with you soon. Any final thoughts before we go? Yeah, good to see you guys. Have a great day.